There are moments in a public life when someone's attempt to make a problem disappear ends up making it 10 times bigger. Meghan Markle just lived through one of those moments, and by all accounts, she is not handling it well. Tom Bower's book, Betrayal, has officially reached the #1 spot on Amazon. Not climbing, #1. And it got there fast. Within days of release, it was the first thing readers saw when they opened the platform.
Firstly, grateful to them because it pushed the book up to #1 on Amazon. And secondly, I'm not surprised. I mean, for them, any criticism is always poisonous and damaging, and particularly from me. But I can assure you it's very well sourced.
The book she called a fabrication, a conspiracy, a work of deranged fiction, is now the most talked about royal expose in years. And the more her camp pushes back, the harder it sells. This is the story of how a book became unstoppable, why Meghan's strategy collapsed in real time, and what Bower's allegations reveal about where Harry and Meghan's post-royal journey is actually heading. Tom Bower is not a new name in publishing. He has built a career documenting powerful figures, and he has faced pushback before. But few reactions have been as loud or as counterproductive as the one that came from Meghan Markle's team following the release of Betrayal. Before a single copy had reached most readers, Meghan's representatives were already out in force, calling the book unreliable and its author a man who specializes in fantasy over fact.
But I can assure you it's very well sourced from the person who heard it from the Queen's mouth. And it's true. I mean, that's the point. It is actually, unfortunately, true at the time.
The statement released on her behalf didn't mince words. It described Bower as someone who constructs elaborate theories about people he has never met, and accused the book of being filled with deranged conspiracy and melodrama.
He has made a career out of constructing ever more elaborate theories about people he does not know and has never met. Those interested in facts will look elsewhere. Those seeking deranged conspiracy and melodrama know exactly where to find him.
Strong words, except they came with a problem. Tom Bower didn't blink. Rather than retreating, he stepped forward. In interviews following the book's release, Bower appeared relaxed, even amused. He wasn't rattled by the pushback. He was grateful for it. He openly stated that the reaction from Meghan's side had done something no marketing budget could replicate. It sent thousands of curious readers directly to Amazon to find out what all the fuss was about. Bower has made this point clearly and without hesitation. He believes that when someone as prominent as Meghan Markle publicly attacks a book, readers don't hear a warning, they hear an invitation. And they showed up in numbers. Within just 48 hours of release, Betrayal had climbed to the very top of the charts. Bower's response to that? He thanked her.
They're scared of Tom Bower. They're scared of what he's going to report because they know it's true. They know there's truth to it. If it's just deranged and crazy and fixation and whatever, then just ignore it. The truth will bear out generally. People will ignore what they seem as or deem as sort of on a crazy end of the spectrum, but that's not what Tom Bower is doing. Tom Bower is being a journalist here and reporting the facts, and the facts terrify Meghan Markle especially. She can't deal with them. She has to live in her delusional fantasy, and she hates anybody who tries to break it.
One of the most striking claims he's made is that certain information came directly from someone who heard it from the Queen herself. Whether readers believe that or not, the confidence with which Bower stands behind his work has done significant damage to the narrative Meghan's team tried to establish. Because here's the thing about publicly calling a book deranged: it only works if the author looks unstable or defensive in response. Bower looked neither. He looked like a journalist who had done his homework and was watching the reaction prove his point in real time. The criticism, intended to discredit, instead created a spotlight. And once that spotlight was on, the book didn't need any more help.
The Sussexes are giving him such fabulous publicity for his new book. I mean, you must be distraught.
Totally, utterly. It's #1 on Amazon. Yes, well, of course. But the problem with the Sussexes, they want to control their own narrative. They don't like people writing about them without their permission.
Let's be clear about what happened here strategically, because it's a case study in how not to manage a public narrative. When Betrayal first surfaced in serialized excerpts, there was a window of opportunity. A measured non-response, something brief, dismissive, and dignified, might have kept the book in the background noise. Journalists would have covered it, sure, but without fuel, fires tend to burn out on their own. Instead, the decision was made to go loud. And going loud meant that every media outlet that was casually covering the story now had a reason to give it wall-to-wall attention. Meghan Markle's strong reaction became the story inside the story. It wasn't just about what the book said anymore. It was about why she was reacting so intensely. Observers have pointed out a pattern here. When public figures respond to criticism with outsized anger rather than calm dismissal, it almost always signals that something in the content has hit close to home. Whether or not that's the case here, it's the read many people have taken. If the material were truly as absurd as Meghan's camp suggested, the rational move would be to let it fade. Instead, it was handed a megaphone. Bauer himself noted this with a kind of dry satisfaction. He pointed to past examples where celebrity outrage over his work ended up driving massive sales. He made the comparison directly. Royal anger is, in his words, the most effective free publicity an author can receive. He even went a step further, reportedly joking that the more Meghan's team complained, the better his finances looked. That might sound glib, but the numbers support him. The book's rise up the Amazon charts happened at a speed that even positive reviews rarely produce. It wasn't long before it became genuinely difficult to ignore. It was appearing in recommendation algorithms, featured prominently in the store, showing up on social media feeds.
That all the hopes they had 5 years ago are now have begun to unravel. And I think they're facing debt, they're facing desperation, and then now what is fascinating about this, of course, because they are global celebrities and because of the effect they have on the royal family and on Britain, that what is the story of the last 5 years? And that I tell, whether it's in Colombia or Nigeria, the writing of Spare, the making of the Netflix series, all this is inside stuff about two very, very interesting people who are products of their age.
The very controversy meant to discredit it had transformed it into essential reading for anyone following the royal story. And the irony isn't lost on anyone who's been paying attention. The couple that has spoken extensively about controlling their own narrative, who accused the British press of distortion and manipulation, ended up handing an author they despise the biggest platform he could have asked for. Beyond the book itself, Bauer's allegations paint a portrait of a post-royal strategy that is under serious strain, financially, professionally, and reputationally. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties several years ago, the broad plan appeared to be self-sufficiency through media partnerships. And at first, the deals were extraordinary. Netflix came calling with a reported agreement worth hundreds of millions. Spotify followed. The couple seemed to have successfully converted their royal departure into the launchpad for a media empire. But Bauer argues that what looked like a kingdom from the outside has been quietly unraveling. The Netflix partnership produced a documentary, Harry and Meghan, that landed with a mixed reception. While it drew some initial viewership, critics were harsh, and the streaming numbers reportedly failed to sustain momentum. Bauer has referenced figures that place the series far down the list of Netflix's most watched content. Not a flagship success, but something closer to a footnote once the initial buzz faded. Meghan's subsequent solo project on the platform also received a difficult critical reception, with reviewers largely unconvinced by the presentation. The Spotify deal collapsed entirely. The podcast venture that was announced with considerable fanfare produced one season of content before the partnership was dissolved. In the podcast world, that's the equivalent of being dropped after one album. The official messaging from Meghan's side framed it as a mutual and positive decision, a step forward on her own terms. Critics weren't buying it. Without those two revenue streams, the financial picture gets complicated fast. And there are costs that don't shrink just because income does.
On the Netflix series, Meghan's people say that she's decided to move on and do this for herself because she doesn't need Netflix anymore, and therefore it's a positive own step forward.
As Mandy Rice Davis said, she would say that, wouldn't she? I mean, the point is, of course, it was a complete failure. It was absolutely crucified by the critics. It had terrible viewing figures. I think it was something like number 3,000 on Netflix's most popular programs.
Security is the clearest example. When you're no longer attached to the royal institution, the Crown's protection disappears with the title. For Harry and Meghan, that means funding their own security operation. And given their profile, that operation is substantial. Estimates have placed the annual cost in the millions. That's not an overhead that can be quietly absorbed. It's a significant and ongoing drain, and it doesn't go away during periods when the public profile or the income dips. Add to that the cost of maintaining a high-end lifestyle in Montecito, California, a mansion in one of America's most exclusive communities, and the financial math becomes difficult to balance without a consistent source of major income. Bauer argues that this is the gap that has widened quietly behind the scenes.
Well, they spend a fortune, not least on security, but their huge mansion in Montecito in California.
The ambition was independence and global influence. The reality, he suggests, is an increasingly urgent search for the next deal, the next revenue source, the next platform willing to invest in the Sussex name. And that search, according to him, is becoming harder to run successfully.
And the problem is that Meghan has huge ambition. She is a very resilient, attractive woman to look at, and because of the mystery. But actually, there's a lack of talent. She wasn't a great actress. She's not a great television performer. She was terrific at dishing the dirt, or her dirt, on the royal family, and she's reached the end of the road.
So what do you do when the media empire underperforms, the public profile is shifting, and the book you tried to kill is sitting at number 1? Apparently, you plan a trip to Australia. Reports emerged that Meghan was set to appear at a wellness event in Australia, a high-end, ticketed gathering where attendees could reportedly pay around £1,700 for the experience of meeting her. The framing around the event positioned it as an empowering and health-focused initiative. Bauer's interpretation was considerably more pointed. He described it as a clear illustration of how the Sussex brand has evolved, from royal prestige to a premium meet-and-greet model. The Australia angle carries symbolic weight too. When Harry and Meghan toured Australia in 2018, the reception was enormous. Crowds turned out in staggering numbers, the press coverage was overwhelmingly positive, and the couple seemed to be at the peak of their public appeal. That tour became one of the defining images of their early royal chapter.
Of course, the income has now stopped. Netflix doesn't pay them, Spotify doesn't pay them. She's having to go to Australia for this bizarre health farm encounter where you pay £1,700 to meet her.
You can meet her. I saw that.
Her.
Whether you actually meet her one-on-one, I don't know.
Well, I think you do. You can have a photograph taken with
Oh,
her.
right.
They say that most of the people applying for the tickets are journalists.
Bauer suggests the current Australia visit is partly an attempt to recreate that energy, to return to a place where they were once beloved and hope that some of the original warmth is still there. Whether that strategy will work is another question. Reactions to the announced visit have been mixed, with significant opposition visible online. Petitions circulating against their attendance gathered notable support. Critics questioned whether any taxpayer-connected resources should be tied to their presence. The Australia that welcomed them enthusiastically in 2018, some observers note, has had years to form new opinions, and those opinions aren't uniformly favorable. There are also practical complications reportedly surrounding the wellness event itself. Questions have been raised about the venue's readiness, with some reports suggesting that the facilities were still being completed close to the event date. If true, that creates a reputational risk. The optics of a high-priced celebrity-adjacent wellness retreat running into logistical problems would not be ideal. Meanwhile, the Invictus Games angle is being watched closely. Harry announced that a future edition of the Games will take place in the United Kingdom, a decision that carries obvious subtext. Hosting Invictus in Britain creates a natural opportunity for royal attendance.
As Harry did hope, on their return to Britain in July at the Invictus rehearsals in Birmingham in England. That, in my view, is now looking rather undoubtful.
If senior members of the family, including King Charles or Prince William, were photographed at the event alongside Harry, the imagery of reconciliation would be extraordinarily powerful. It would signal an end, or at least a pause, to the public rift that has defined the family's narrative for years. Bauer reads this move as deliberate. He believes Harry wants to return to Britain. He believes the Invictus announcement is as much about creating conditions for a reunion as it is about the games themselves. But he's skeptical about whether it will work, and he's identified several reasons why.
Oh, I think he desperately does want to come back. I think that's what the whole Invictus Games in Birmingham was all about and is all about. But I think now he's got a huge problem that they're increasingly unpopular. The king can't face him in the way he wants in public, and Birmingham is the worst place to bring the Invictus Games. Harry's plans, plus the protection, which I don't believe he's going to get the way he wants, is going to make it very, very difficult for him.
For one, Harry's ongoing legal battles over security provision in the UK remain unresolved. Without guaranteed protection of the standard he believes he requires, any extended stay in Britain becomes practically and legally complicated. For another, the optics of Israeli competitors participating in the Games against the backdrop of the ongoing conflict in Gaza could trigger significant protests, the kind of controversy that would make any senior royal think carefully before associating themselves publicly with the event. King Charles, Bauer suggests, is not a man who makes decisions carelessly. He is unlikely to walk into a situation where his attendance becomes politically charged or divisive. And then there's William, If there's one figure in the royal family who represents a genuine obstacle to any reconciliation between Harry and the institution, it's Prince William. Bower's account suggests that William is not inclined toward forgiveness, or at least not toward the kind of public reconciliation that would restore the Sussex standing in any meaningful way.
And what is really annoying is that we shouldn't have to in any way admire what they're doing in Dusseldorf, because they have wrecked with all their lies. The lies on Oprah Winfrey, the lies in Spare, the lies that Harry said in his interviews about his father and his brother.
The history between the brothers is well documented at this point, but Bower adds texture to some of the earlier tension. He references a supposed peacemaking meeting between William and Harry that reportedly went badly, an encounter in which Meghan allegedly told William sharply to remove his finger from her face. The implication is that the friction was never just between the brothers. It ran through the wider family dynamic, with Meghan's presence fundamentally altering the shape of relationships that had existed for decades. William allegedly harbored doubts about Meghan well before the engagement was ever formalized. Those doubts, Bower argues, never fully went away, and the years since the departure from royal life have only hardened them. This matters enormously for the question of what comes next. If Harry and Meghan's best remaining card is a royal reconciliation story, and if William, who will one day be king, is firmly opposed to playing any part in that narrative, then the card loses most of its value. A reconciliation involving Charles and not William would be partial at best, and the public and press would treat it accordingly. The title question hangs over all of this too. While King Charles has reportedly been reluctant to escalate conflict by stripping Harry and Meghan of their Duke and Duchess titles, the calculation may shift once William takes the throne. Bower suggests that if Meghan continues to attach her royal identity to commercial ventures, the way, he notes, Sarah Ferguson has done with her own title, it may eventually become untenable. A future King William may decide that the Sussex brand monetizing royal association is a line that cannot keep being crossed without consequence. The pressure is building. And pressure, in Bower's experience, tends to produce decisions that create stories. He has also raised the possibility, carefully framed but nonetheless explicit, that the marriage itself may be heading toward a breaking point. His suggestion that Meghan has historically moved on from relationships when the circumstances no longer served her ambitions is pointed. He references her previous marriage and the manner in which it reportedly ended, drawing a parallel with the current situation. If the Sussex brand continues to decline, if the financial strain continues to mount, and if Harry increasingly represents a liability rather than an asset to the life she is trying to build, Bower speculates that she may eventually seek something, or someone, different. Whether that assessment is fair or accurate, it is clearly a read that resonates with a significant portion of the audience consuming this story. Step back and look at the full picture, and what you see is a story that has moved a long way from the excitement and possibility that surrounded Harry and Meghan's departure from royal life. In the early days, the narrative was one of liberation. Two people choosing authenticity over institution, freedom over protocol. The deals were coming in, the public interest was intense, and the future looked genuinely open. They could, it seemed, become whatever they wanted to be. What Tom Bower's book argues, and what the surrounding events appear to support, is that the gap between that ambition and the current reality has grown considerably. The media empire is underperforming, the financial pressure is real, the public sentiment in the countries they're targeting has shifted. The family reconciliation remains stuck. And the couple's most powerful asset, their association with the royal institution, is precisely the thing they can only use at arm's length, because fully leaning into it would contradict the story they've spent years telling about why they left. That's the bind. And it's a difficult one to escape. Tom Bower's book sits at number 1 on Amazon. Meghan Markle's statement about it is now part of its marketing history, and the conversation about what comes next for Harry and Meghan is louder than it has been in months. The story, for better or worse, is not going quiet anytime soon.